ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈವ್ ಅಂತ ತಗೊಂಡಿದೆಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಬಟ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಲ್ಲ. 6 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಡಿಲೇ. ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡಾ? ಓಕೆ ಫೈನ್. ಹ್ಞೂ
explain my life.
Educational trusts in India, serving the cause of education at all levels, from nursery to PhD. Trust runs 28 educational institutions, with total student strength of more than 21,000. We provide world-class infrastructure for learning, research, and application of knowledge. We have been relentlessly striving to prepare our young people Established in 1930, Seshadripuram Education Trust is one of the premier educational trusts in India, serving the course of education at all levels, from nursery to PhD. The trust funds 28 educational institutions with total student strength of more than 20. Established in 1930, Seshadripuram Education Trust is one of the premier educational trusts in India, serving the concept of education at all levels.
Hello? 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 Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Yeah. This is a Dr. S. Syed Rafiq Ahmed from New College Commerce Department.
Welcome, sir.
Associate Professor and Head joining this webinar, madam. Thanks a lot for this wonderful opportunity. Eat everything. Please.
Hello? Hello? Check. Good morning, Janardhan sir.
Good morning to one and all present here. Today's speaker, Janardhan sir, has joined us. Sir, shall we start the meeting?
Yes, sir. I'm ready. Please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I request our head of the we start the webinar, sir. I request all of you to kindly mute your audios. All the participants kindly mute your audios. It will be helpful for us to do the webinar smoothly. Yeah. Now I request our head of the department, Professor Punita G, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning to one and all. Good morning to one and all. I welcome you all to today's webinar on effective online teaching pedagogy on accounting, organized by Department of Commerce and Management of our college. I, Punita G, Head Department of Commerce and Management at the outset, would like to inform you that we have got 650 plus registration for the webinar. We are also live streaming the webinar in YouTube and the link has been already shared to the participants. It gives me immense pleasure in welcoming our today's resource person, Dr. Janardhan sir. Sir is MPhil holder and has completed his PhD in Periyar University. He is currently working as principal at MES Degree College. Sir has 35 years of experience in teaching and has presented and published papers at state, national, international level and in the reputed journals. Sir has served as Deputy Custodian, Chairman, Board of Examiners for Bangalore University and has also chaired sessions at UGC sponsored workshop. Sir has also authored 12 books in accounting for various courses. Sir was adjudged the coolest lecturer of MES Degree College in survey conducted by Times of India and was published on Teachers' Day, that's on 5th September 2013. It is our pleasure to have you among us today, sir. On behalf of our principal, management and staff, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. I welcome you, sir. I now welcome our principal, Professor Vidya Shivananavar, to this webinar. Welcome you, ma'am. I extend a hearty welcome to Associate Professor Pramod A.V., who has been instrumental in organizing this webinar, and also the technical team members and the staff members of SICM and the participants who have joined us from various institutions. Welcome to one and all. I now request Professor Vidya Shivananavar, Principal SICM, to give the prelude of the webinar.
At the outset, I welcome all of you to this webinar. I extend a warm welcome to Punita ji, Head Department of Commerce and Management, to this webinar. I welcome you all. This webinar on effective online teaching pedagogy for accounting. It was designed, main objective of having this webinar today is, you all know during this pandemic, we all have experienced a difficulty in handling our classes. To a commerce teacher, handling an accounting class or a practical class is really a challenge, whether it is an offline class or an online class. But the challenge was increased when we had to start with online classes, because we had a sudden pandemic and it was really very difficult for all of us. Keeping this in mind, Department of Commerce had thought of training the faculties of commerce fraternity to face these future challenges, because we all know that in my future also we all have to take online classes for some time until all this situation comes to control. With this note, I now request Dr. Janardhan PG, Principal, MES College of Arts and Commerce, Bangalore, to start the session. Sir, you can start the session.
Wish you all a good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this webinar. It's very nice to connect with all of you once again. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Shall I? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Today's topic is going to be effective online teaching pedagogy for accounting. Generally what happens is, whenever there is a webinar or a speech, the chief guest or the chief speaker or the resource person shares a lot. It's out of his experience, out of his learning. But here I am playing two roles, my dear friends. Of course, whatever little I know, I'm going to share with all of you. And I'm also here to learn a lot. Because though we know a little bit of our own subjects, this concept of online classes is new to all of us. So I would say this is a very good platform for all of us to exchange whatever I know I'll share it with you. And I'm also here to learn a lot from you, especially in the questions and answer session and in the last part also. Let us see how much I can learn. There are certain disclaimers I have to make here itself. First one is I'm not going to say anything or discuss anything about technology, which platform to use, how to create the IDs and everything. The technology part I'm completely going to skip. Similarly, I'm not going to speak anything on the domain or the subject. All of us are teaching different subjects, marketing and principles of management and finance and IFRS and accountancy, cost accounting and various things. All of us are well versed in the subject, so I'm not going to deal anything with the subject also. So friends, if I'm not going to deal with the technology or with the subject also, what am I going to do? I'm here to share certain experiences of mine so that all of us can deliver the content in a much effective manner online. Of course, again, I'm not going to speak anything regarding general classes or offline classes. What exactly can we do so that the delivery of the content online becomes a little more effective? This is based on my experience, and I have discussed with several colleagues of mine, my own college and other colleges, and most importantly, I've taken the inputs from various students also as to what exactly are the problems they are facing. I'm here to put everything together in the form of a capsule and share it with you. There are certain other factors also we have to understand. Online classes versus offline classes. Let us be very, very clear that online classes cannot be as effective as offline classes. How much of a well-trained we are, how much of a good we are in the subject, and even if we use the best possible platform, online classes will have their own limitations compared with offline. But still, why are we talking about online classes? Because it's inevitable. All of us know the present situation, it doesn't need any explanation. In fact, nobody knows when the classes are going to commence, how and when the exams are going to happen, how we have to do the admissions for the next academic year. These are all big question marks. But one thing is very sure, we have to take a few online classes, maybe for this semester and next semester also. I don't see any easing of the situation even during the next semester. So let us see how exactly we can do our best in online classes itself. And thirdly, I as a teacher or any of us as teachers here, we don't have any training in online classes. We know a little bit of our subjects, we have taught for various years, we have picked up a lot of experience, but online teaching is a different challenge altogether. None of us is formally trained, at least most of us are not formally trained. And more importantly, even students should be trained to receive online lessons, but they are not trained. All our students are used to only face-to-face classes wherein they come to the classes and sit and we address them. There is a direct interaction. So this is a very strange situation where the teacher is not trained, the students are also not trained, but the work should go on, the show must go on. Let's see how exactly we can overcome this challenge. Friends, when it comes to preparation, all of us do some amount of preparation before going to a class, whichever subject it is. Maybe a problem solving subject or a concepts based subject or the new subject, namely skill development being taught in the classes and everything. We do prepare and then go to the classes. But online classroom or online teaching needs a little bit of a higher degree of teaching because the method of sharing is very, very different here. We need a very, very serious amount of effort to be put in because it's online, and definitely this is in addition to the teaching preparation which we do in our usual classes. Now when it comes to awareness, all of us have this problem, all of us face this problem. When we face a camera, we become a little conscious, we become very aware, and if we are facing a video camera, it becomes even more pronounced. Definitely, we should be aware that and we should be conscious that we are facing a camera. This is actually an online mode classes and everything, but the only thing is that should not scare us. This is not something which is very, very difficult. Let us have a certain amount of consciousness that this is much, much different from what we address the students directly. But only thing is that should not go to such a high degree that it becomes a scare. Now, what is the basis of this online classes or online teaching itself? Actual class. Even today, my basis is my subject. My confidence is the amount of learning I have done in the classroom. Based on that itself, I should start the online classes also. But since online classes are a little different, there are certain things which must be done differently. So let us not forget, in fact, we cannot ignore that we are basically teachers, regular teachers who are used to facing the students directly. In fact, that gives us a lot of strength. Now, I would classify the various methods of online education only into two classifications. That is, of course, this is my classification. This is not made anywhere. For my convenience, this is what I have done. The first one is a movie mode, interactive classes on various platforms. And some of us record our teaching, record the classes and share them on the YouTube and the website. Now I call this movie because it may not be actually interactive in the true sense of it, but still the students can see us moving. In the sense the students can see us teaching, they can see us. The only thing is it's not in flesh and blood, but they can still see us acting in the class and speaking, our lips movement and everything. The next one is a still mode wherein there is no movement at all. Some of us prepare very good notes and share the notes with the students. We share the question papers. We prepare very short forms and we prepare them in the form of PPTs, and we share the PPTs at times with voice and at times without recording the voice also. These are sent to the students. Generally, I would say all online teaching will fall under these two modes. One is a movie mode where the students can see us acting, they can see us actually moving and speaking and gesturing and everything. Next one is the still mode wherein they do get a lot of information but there is no movement. Now I made this classification because it makes a lot of difference when a student sees a person acting or moving and when a person gets notes or question papers or PPTs without the human element in it. Of course, I don't say still mode is not good. Still mode is also good. But there are certain situations where we have to use the movie mode and there are certain situations we have to use the still mode itself. Similarly, I will classify. I presume I am addressing only commerce, management and accountancy related teachers. So the courses we would be looking at would be BCom, BBA, to a certain extent BCA and such other classes. So I would say most of our subjects can be classified as first in the concepts based. We generally call them the theory, the marketing and the marketing subject and so many other subjects. And then we have the so-called problem solving practical. Though we call it practical, even that is also theory. In theory, we solve a problem. But then this involves a lot of calculations. This involves a lot of journalizing and ledger posting and preparation of balance sheets and problems and sums and such other things. So we can go with this broad classification. Now, when it comes to the concepts-based subject like marketing or such other subjects or so, we can use either movie mode or a still mode. There's nothing wrong if we use a movie mode here, or we can still use a still mode because this is theory. But when it comes to a problem-solving subject, which we generally call a practical paper, it would be preferably a movie mode. Of course, we can send it through PPTs also, but I would prefer we should use a movie mode because if we speak and in the process of speaking, if we develop and if we tell them how to calculate the various steps and the various stages in accounting, the grasp is a little easier. Students will understand this a little better. Let me take two very, very fundamental examples. The first one is calculation of purchase consideration. If we theoretically say purchase consideration is nothing but the excess of total assets over total liabilities, students might get a very vague idea. But if I write on the board, if I show them the balance sheet, if I tell them these are the assets and these are the revised values and if I prepare a list of all the assets taken over at the revised values, and then if I clearly show that these are the external liabilities, and if I minus, this is much easier to grasp. Take another example, royalty table. Before solving any problem on royalty, we have to make the students understand the importance of the royalty table. We should tell them how did we arrive at the amount of royalty, the concepts like minimum rent and recoupment and everything. This also, as we speak, if we write it on the board, as we speak, if we fill every box in the table, it becomes much easier. So I would prefer, when it comes to any problem solving subject of the so-called practical people like accounts or cost accounts or income tax or management accounting, the movie mode is a little more effective. Now, when we write on the board, this applies only when we are writing on the board, the whole process is short, and this is sent to the students either directly, or we can put it on the YouTube, or we can put it on the website and things like that. But here, I've seen certain things. What happens is, there are certain cases where the focus is on the teacher. The letters which are written on the board is not at all visible. They become so small. So there should be some professionalism here. Let the focus be in such a way that the teacher is very clearly viewable, and at the same time what the teacher writes on the board is also clearly visible. Only then can the students connect the teacher and the taught. Somewhat like this. This is a very well focused one. The teacher is visible, and of course she has not written anything. When she writes it in this way, there is a proper focus. But if we focus only on the board, or if the focus is only on the teacher, or if the focus is such that the teacher is very clearly visible, but what is on the board is not visible, that again will put the students into a lot of difficulty. Now, I would say, before we prepare any online classes, whether it's a direct presentation through a movie mode, or whether it is a set of PPTs or whatever, let's pre-test it. Before actually going on screen and addressing all the students, we can do a small test. All of us who are actually used to research should understand this very well. Before we administer the questionnaire, we do a small thing called sample survey. In the sense, we take some 25 or 50 respondents, we give them the questionnaires, we ask them to fill the questionnaire, and we also ask them if they have any difficulty in answering the questionnaire. Do they want the questionnaire to be rewritten, reframed, if there is ambiguity anywhere, and things like that. It's only after we get the response of these 40 or 50 sample respondents, and that is after implementing all these feedback which they give, we can actually administer the actual questionnaire to the general set of audience. We can do a similar thing here. That is, whatever we have prepared can be pre-tested on some students. Now the question is, on what kind of students can we test this? Most of our colleges, we have a mix of students who come from pre-university, in which they would have learned either an English medium or Kannada medium. Absolutely nothing wrong. We should be proud that some students are still learning under Kannada medium. I would say this set of students on whom we are going to pre-test it, draw some students on Kannada medium, because they will tell you whether our English is really difficult or not. And in every class we will have some slow learners and we have some sharp-minded people. It is better we draw the slow learners for this test, but these people should be sincere. So what happens is, if we take the students who come from Kannada medium of instruction, and if we take a few slow learners, but of course if these people are sincere, we can understand as to what is the speed at which we can proceed, what is the difficulty. But if you take the ranked students, if you take the toppers in the class, obviously their grasp will be a little faster. Now if you set the speed of your teaching according to these people, what happens is, the slow learners and the average students and the Kannada medium students will find it very difficult. So let us start from the bottom. Let us draw such students and do a lot of pre-testing. And more importantly, whatever the students say, the feedback. A student from Kannada medium might say, "Sir, your accent is very difficult. You are very fast." And a slow learner might say, "Sir, please repeat it." Do it again, I'm not able to follow. Tell me the calculation again. Now, whatever feedback they give us, we have to take it very, very seriously. I was just thinking of this example. This is an industry where there is a suggestions box. You know, all the employees, if they have some difficulty in the process of working or so, they're supposed to write their suggestions and drop it. Now, in an ideal situation, all the suggestions should be taken by the management. It's only when the genuine suggestions are implemented, what happens is then the work becomes easier. These suggestions should be implemented. And how much ever we try, how much ever the management does, it's only the workers who are actually in the field or who are in front of the machines, they can give us actual suggestions. So these suggestions should be taken and they should be implemented. Similarly, I may feel very confident. I know the subject very well, but unless I learn from the student as to how I should teach, it's not going to be effective. So we should take the suggestions. I compare this with the suggestions box. But in most of the industries, I'm not here to put down anybody, but I'm saying this, you know what happens to the suggestions box? All the suggestions which are dropped in the suggestions box are directly connected to this. This should not happen. When we want our teaching to be effective, we have to implement the suggestions, more so in case of online, because we are not trained, students are also not trained in the online mode. It's only when we implement all the suggestions. At times, suggestions may be shocking. Some students might say, sir, your accent is wrong. Some students may say, sir, we're not able to understand your handwriting on the board. Let us take these suggestions also. Let's improve ourselves based on all the suggestions given. Now, what also can be done is certain easy topics can be chosen, and we can encourage some students in the classes to prepare a presentation in the form of a webinar and present it. We can be audience. Of course, at every stage of the preparation, we should help them. We should virtually handhold them. And at every stage, in case they go wrong, we have to correct them. And if we make them do this again and again, one benefit is that students become good orators. They develop a lot of good skills. And when a student teaches his or her own friends, the effect is much better than we teaching, because to a certain extent the relationship between the teacher and the students becomes a little formal. But the relationship between a friend and his other friends or classmates will be a little informal, so the connect is a little better. This can be tried. We can handpick some students, give them some topics, tell them to prepare, help them with all the material, tell them how to go ahead also, and at every stage we can do that, and we can make the students give a lot of presentations. And in this method, we are actually developing a lot of skill. Teaching is a very good skill. We don't know. Most of our students might become very, very good teachers in the future. This also is a very good opportunity for that. Nextly, what is the speed of lecturing? Of course, each of us has a different speed of lecturing. It's very difficult for us to change our speed. But let's be conscious that we are facing the students online. So let us be a little slower than offline teaching. Because offline teacher, whatever speed we have, the students may feel comfortable because they are having a face-to-face interaction. But this is online. Therefore, let us consciously slow down a little. Let there be a longer pause between the words. Let us drag the words a little so that students understand this in a much better manner. What happens is, in case of online teaching, grasping itself is difficult because they don't have a person in flesh and blood standing in front of them. And in addition to that, if the speed is also very high, students will find it very, very difficult. Of course, we will finish our classes and go away, but how effective are the classes? That we have to look into. And when it comes to accent, of course, accent is also different for each person. There is nothing wrong in any accent. One person may use an American accent, another person might use a pure English accent, another person might use an Indian accent. Some of us may have a Kannada slang accent also, absolutely nothing wrong. We are only trying to convey. Most of us pick up the accent from our younger days. Whatever we have learned, we will do that. But When it comes to online teaching, we should pay a lot of attention to accent also. Let us think whether if I use a very, very stylish accent, if I use an accent which is alien to most of the people, will they understand? I should be 100% student oriented. Let us not take online classes as an opportunity for us to show our accent or for us to show our speed of the language. Let us go by an accent which the students actually accept. Accent is very important. When it comes to speed, this becomes very slow. This becomes very fast. There are very slow people and very fast people also. Anyway, let's avoid these two. So a speed which is in between, a healthy speed which most of the students would understand is the best. That's the reason why pre-testing is very important. The students will tell us whether we are fast or whether we are slow or whether we have to correct our accent or so. Eye contact. You know, in an actual class, what happens is, suppose I go and stand in front of a class. Let's say the class has 3 columns of benches. Ideally, I should have an eye contact with everybody. What I do is I start from the student to my left in the first bench. I keep on looking at all the students. I move from the student, the first student in the left, and I come back to the first student in the third row or the third column also, so that everybody feels that the teacher is looking at him or her. Now, when a student knows that the teacher is directly having an eye contact with him or her, the learning is better, the grasping is better, there is a higher degree of seriousness. But some of us may have this habit. We have a habit of selecting one part of the class or a few benches. We keep looking only at that and we neglect the other part of the classes. The other part will definitely feel left out. And I have seen some teachers, most of the time they keep staring at the ceiling. Maybe that is one mannerism, I don't find fault with it, but that is to be avoided. But this is a virtual class, there is no way we can look at all the students. So let me assume the camera or the laptop monitor itself is each student. If I have a direct contact with this, each student will feel that I am looking at her or I am looking at him. So this is one change we have to implement when it comes to an online class. Now what about the language? Most of us are, at least in Bangalore city, most of the colleges are under English medium. But some students may need some guidance in Kannada. Generally what we do is in the class in English, and we tell the students who don't know much of English to come to the department so that we can support them wherever they are not understood. But this again being an online class, if you know that most of the students find it difficult to understand English, there is absolutely nothing wrong if we intersperse sentences in Kannada and English. In fact, we should be happy that we'll be getting an opportunity to use Kannada along with English also. So we can make a mixture if we know there are some students who find English very difficult. Now when we use English, should we use easy words or very rare sounding words? For example, instead of secret, we can use the word clandestine. Instead of postpone, we can use the word defer. Instead of stubborn, we can use the word intransigent. These are all different words. But will the students understand? So, of course, these words may come to us in our flow, especially those of the teachers who have a very good language backing or whatever it is. For such people, these difficult words or rare words come naturally in the flow. But again, we should keep in mind that we are facing an online audience. If there is one key word in a sentence which the student doesn't understand also, the entire sentence becomes a waste. So as far as possible, let us try to understand what kind of or what is the level of English knowledge among the students, and based on that, we can use the appropriate words. And at times we get carried away. I've seen some students who appear to be very stylish and very fashionable. They come from the so-called high-sounding convents. They speak English with a very stylish accent, but such students also don't understand these words. It's only a show-off. I'm not putting down any students, but this again is a reality. I've seen such students also, they find it a little difficult to follow the very, very rare words And you can't expect a student sitting in a virtual class to open a dictionary and find out the meaning, or come back to the teacher and ask, "Sir, what is the meaning of this?" and certain things. And in certain cases, what may happen is a student might get the wrong meaning of these words also. So let's be very, very careful about the words which we are using. But I would generally say, let's be simple. Let's make an appeal in simplicity. There is a lot we can do in simplicity also. So this is so far as the language. Now, what is the facial expression? As far as possible, when we go to the class, we try to keep a calm face. We are also human beings. I know there is a battle which is going on in each of us. We are very, very human. But what happens is, if we try to express what's going on in our minds and our faces, face is an index of the mind, and students are very, very smart these days. They can make out. And this is again even more important in an online class, because if the students understand that the teacher is disturbed internally, the teacher is not calm, the teacher is not peaceful, subconsciously there is a certain amount of subconsciously there is a certain amount of difficulty on the part of the students when it comes to understanding. As they say, face is the index of the mind. If this is the expression on the face of the teacher, will any student feel free to approach? Of course, in an online class, there is no approaching, but a student is subconsciously put off. A student also may not have understood that he or she is facing a lot of difficulty, but these things work in the subconscious mind. A frown on the face, an angry expression, a very sad expression will deter students. Thus, teacher becomes unapproachable. Now look at this. This teacher himself seems to be confused. Maybe there is a question which he is not able to answer. So the expression we can make out, the teacher himself is very, very confused. So if such expressions are shown to the students, that again brings down the effectiveness of the teaching. We should all be like this, very happy, very calm, very, very receptive, very, very welcoming the students, any kinds of doubts or whatever. As far as possible, we should be very calm, and we should give an expression that we are very affable, we are very friendly, and we are amenable to all the students. We are open to all the students, whether it's any question or whatever. Now, this is only an experiment which I tried when I'm explaining on some platform, or when I'm recording my live class and sending the recorded version to the students. Can I play some soft music? Of course, music always has a very soothing effect. If I choose the appropriate ragas, if I set the right kind of low volume, which will supplement or which is in the background, it definitely has a very, very good effect. There are certain ragas which will actually enable the people to relax subconsciously. They may not know, but certain ragas are there if chosen appropriately, especially from our classical music. They are very, very good, and they help the students to relax also. But it's better such music be instrumental. And there is another problem. How do we mix the voice and the music? We may think we may play that on the cell phone and keep it along with the mic or so, but the blend is going to be a little difficult. I have seen it. If we blend it just like that, if I keep the mic here and if I play the music from a music system or from my cell phone, the blend is not very clear, and at times it is very disturbing also. This needs certain equipment wherein the music is blended with the voice. The music source is connected to the mic itself. If any of us can get this, it will be very, very good. But we should be careful about the objections. In certain cases, students might object. They may say, music is disturbing. In certain cases, parents might object. What is this you are doing? Are you playing music or are you teaching? And in certain cases, our colleges also might object. But if you take care of these objections, if you can select the right music, if you can blend the music and the voice, it has a very, very salutary effect. Good music, good ragas will definitely make the students relax, and the learning happens in a much better manner. The grasp is much better. If you have any such music, of course, the picture can't be shown. If such music can be blended with your voice, if such pleasing and soothing music can be blended with our voice, it will definitely go a very, very long way to enable the students to learn in a much more effective manner. Now, what about the physical appearance? All of us are very good in terms of physical appearance when it comes to face-to-face classes or actual classes, but let's have the same amount of seriousness when it comes to online classes also. Let's pay sufficient amount of attention to our dress. We may do it from our homes, but absolutely no casual dress. We may do it from our home, from the comfort of our sofas or whatever, but posture must be very difficult. Our faces, our mannerisms, and the degree of casualness, etc., should be very, very appropriate. In fact, I've come across several instances where parents complain that the teacher's ambience or the ambience in the house of the teacher is not very, very appropriate. At times we find a lot of disturbance, some amount of casualness. So all this must be avoided. So we have to pay certain amount of attention to our physical appearance also. Just look at this teacher, very well groomed, very well dressed and very dignified. This must be the kind of appearance which we should be giving to our students. Now, who are the attendees? When we stand in a class, the attendees are only our students. They know us very well. We know them very well. But when we are facing an online class, definitely our students are there. But maybe some parents are also listening. Maybe our students' friends are also listening to this, or they're also attendees. And it's also possible that, for example, I am explaining some concept of income tax, and one of the students' father happens to be a chartered accountant. He is also listening to the lecture. If I commit a small mistake, it will be disastrous. So let's keep in mind that in case of an online class, it's not only the students who are the attendees, there are various other people also. We should not get any complaints. This only necessitates that I should be even more serious, a very, very thorough preparation and everything. Mischief. This is very common. What happens is, in the process when I'm doing something on a certain platform, suddenly we find some uninvited attendees have entered. They create a lot of mischief and everything. This must be very diplomatically handled. There is no way we can do away with it. We should use a proper muting and unmuting facility to overcome this. Now, when it comes to the still mode, let's follow the 6x6 principle. What is 6x6 principle? Please understand this. If you look at this, now if I put this on the screen, there are how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 11 columns and around 16 rows. If I put so much of information on the screen, students will find it very difficult. And I'm not going to allow this to stay on the screen for long also. It's only a flash. Therefore, whenever we show anything on the screen in the form of a table or in the form of a matrix, let us restrict the size. Just look at this. There are only 3 columns and 6 rows. This is so very clear also. Students will not get confused. We generally say whenever we do an online presentation or PPTs, 6x6 in the sense, if it is a text matter, in any sentence, let there not be more than 6 words, and let there not be more than 6 sentences. So 6x6 is the principle by which we go. And if it happens to be a table or a matrix, we should not put more than, as far as possible, we should not put more than 6 columns and 6 rows, so that it becomes very, very easy for the students to grasp. And if it really becomes inevitable, we have to have more columns or more rows. Let's give the students more time so that they can read it slowly and they can understand. But generally, smaller the tables and lesser the statistical or the numerical bits of information, it's always better. Now, when it comes to online teaching, again, I told you there are certain risks. It's not only our students who are watching, everybody is watching. Experts could be watching, and our principals could be watching, senior teachers could be watching, parents who are in very, very good positions could be watching. So when we are teaching a theoretical subject, we should check the facts very, very strongly. Whatever we tell the students, the facts should be checked, the correctness of the information should be checked, and the contemporariness. We should not draw information from 1998 and present it now. We are in 2000. So these things should be checked. And the source from which we draw the information, our teachers, I don't have anything against any books, but I've come across certain guides and certain books which are called scanners, which contain some errors. So we should be very, very careful about the sources of information from which we draw. And even after drawing the information from a good source, before putting it across to the students, we have to cross-check the correctness and everything. And when it comes to a problem-solving subject, all of us are good, all of us can solve problems. But if we go on the screen and when we are solving a problem, if we get stuck, if we commit a mistake, the balance sheet doesn't tally, the journal entry is wrong, it becomes a very, very, ugly situation, if I may use the word. Students will start laughing at us. That should not happen. So even if we are taking a simple problem, maybe we are taking the first illustration or the first problem also, it's better we work it out very clearly. Let us get confidence that what we are doing is right. Let us see that, let's ensure that there is no other way of treating the same thing, and only after that should we attempt that in an online class. Now, I would say a newcomer, a young teacher with say 3 or 4 years experience, if you find this very difficult, there is absolutely nothing wrong if you take an illustration, understand the illustration, solved illustration from a textbook, from a book which is written by authors who are well known for their reliability. You take a solved illustration, read that, work it out again, and then you can put it across. There's absolutely nothing wrong. There is no rule that a teacher should be working out only unsolved exercises from the textbook. Depends on your confidence level. Ultimately, we should make the students understand. But when we work out the problems or solved illustrations, we should only look at that. By and large, we should be able to cover all kinds of situations and all kinds of the so-called adjustments. Credit line. Most of us, what we do is when we come across some very interesting information, we directly take the information or a statistical data and present it to our students, which is wrong. There are certain published sources from which if you draw the information and put it across in your classroom, you have to give a credit line, because these are covered by the Patents Act and everything, patents and all those things. They are registered, so we cannot use this information or pictures or whatever unless we take the permission of the original author or of the original creator. But generally what happens is, if you are not using it for any commercial purpose, for example, I should not take some information and use it in my industry. But if I'm going to share it with my students for an educational purpose, there is a certain amount of relaxation, but still I have to give a credit line. For example, I've taken this bit of information from the Economic Times, the date and the page number and everything. So wherever I draw any information from a published source, the credit line is very important. We may not understand the importance of this. I may draw some information and use it today, but tomorrow I might get a legal notice that how did you use it? This is our source. Especially when we draw some information from the net, we should be very, very careful. We should either take the permission or we should give a credit line that we are drawing the information from so and so. Now, questions and answers. What happens is, when we go to the students, we should always encourage them to ask questions in an actual class, what happens is this happens spontaneously. Even without our asking, even without our encouraging, most of the students will raise their hands and they'll get their doubts clarified. But this is online, may not be possible. So we have to expressly tell our students, you can ask your doubts, please get your doubts clarified. Now this becomes even more important since we are doing this online. Even if we are sending some PPTs or notes or something on WhatsApp or such other media, we should always encourage questions and answers. Support. Now, as all of us know, it's a little difficult for any student to understand things in an online mode. Therefore, whatever we say, we can support it with a chart or a picture or a quotation. We can also share the links, of course, with the prior permission. We can do all these things so that the difficulty in understanding an impersonal teacher can be overcome. Especially pictures and quotations go a very long way. We can always supplement our teaching with this. Now, we can conduct a small quiz at the end. That is just to check how well the students have understood in a very informal way and in a very small way. We can conduct a quiz. This quiz is again some kind of feedback. Indirectly, we can understand the level of understanding on the part of the students. Pre-information. Friends, I was reading one book, I'm sorry I don't remember where. It says, before I read anything, if I make a mental picture of that and then read, for example, I'm reading an article wherein it says the difficulties of implementing GST in India. That is the article I'm reading. I may directly hit the article and read, but if I have a small picture, that is even before reading, I just know what is the topic. I try to mentally visualize what am I going to read about. This article is going to tell me something about GST. This article is going to tell me something about the implementation. So when the GST is going to be implemented, who are going to be affected initially? The traders, the businessmen, the industry and such other people. So this article is going to speak about basically a new kind of tax, and this tax when implemented, what is going to be the impact on that? How exactly the traders will take it? What will be their reaction? Will they oppose it? Will they accept it? Will they give some suggestions? Now, if I form the small mental picture and then if I start reading, I am told understanding is much, much better. Similarly, before starting off with an online class, let us send to the students as to what exactly we are going to deal about. Are we going to talk about marketing? Are we going to talk about mergers and acquisitions? Are we going to talk about income from business? Are we going to talk about something else? If we send a small, a topic along with the summary of what we are going to speak to that, and if the students go through that, and if they are really mentally prepared, it becomes very, very receptive. So we can do this. Maybe one day before we take the online class, we can send a small paragraph as to what exactly is the topic, what we are going to discuss in the topic, and if we make an appeal to all the students, kindly go through this, be prepared mentally. That goes a very long way and it improves the understanding of the part of the students. Now, what I feel is some teachers are actually taking this in a negative way. That is, why should we take online classes? Why should we learn this? Because anyway, after the pandemic, I'm so sorry, after the pandemic is going to subside, we will come back to the actual classes. So why should I learn a new skill of conducting online classes and everything? But friends, I would say, let's take it positively. We are also learning a new skill. For most of the teachers, what happens is, learning stops the moment we become teachers. But in reality, a teacher is an eternal learner. A teacher is an eternal student. And in fact, learning keeps us very, very sharp. In fact, there is a quotation which goes like this. It says, we don't grow old. When we stop growing, we become old. And how do we grow? It's only by learning. So let us take this positively. Let us imbibe this new skill so that it becomes very handy in our future. And future is going to be online. Of course, we may not shift to online completely, but there is a certain amount of certainty that In future, the situation could be such that in every subject, we may have to set aside at least one chapter for online. We will not have the time to do all the 5 or 6 chapters in a syllabus offline. So let us take this as a very good opportunity to learn the skill. And I was reading another article which says by 2050, in most of the advanced countries, colleges will not be there. No colleges at all. All courses will be given online. There will be so many institutions like MOOCs and such other institutions wherein every course, whatever course you want to take, you will have a very, very wide choice. You can take an online class. You can answer the examination online. You will also get a certificate for that. And based on this only, you will have to go to the jobs. Of course, 2050 is a little long, but still, that is a likely scenario. And now itself, we are actually seeing the signs. So what may happen is if this situation becomes a reality, there will be a lot of demand for teachers who can be effective online. This is the time. Let us pick up the skill of teaching online, and let's be prepared for any future eventuality. Technicalities. Now, online teaching needs a certain amount of technicalities like setting the class, creation of login details, muting, unmuting and everything. Fortunately for me, I have a person to support me here. But in every class, every teacher may not have that kind of a support. Therefore, let us become familiar with the minimum technicalities as to how to create an online class and all the related things so that our dependence on others becomes lesser. We can conduct classes by ourselves, and this becomes difficult initially, but I can assure you this is very easy. Creation of an online class and everything. The only thing is we have not had opportunities for all these days. If we keep on doing this once or twice and if we keep repeating this, definitely we can do this. It becomes as easy as sending a WhatsApp message. It is that easy. But the thing is we should put our minds, we should learn it. Let's be a little technically skilled. Time management. Friends, generally when we do offline classes, the session is for a maximum of 60 minutes. Here also let's follow the same thing. Let us end every session by 45 to 50 minutes, beyond which it becomes very difficult for the students to understand. Because of our compulsion, students might sit and listen, but we can easily make out after 45 minutes or 50 minutes, their brains become saturated. It becomes difficult for them to grasp things also. So we can either take a break or spread the classes, 4 classes in a week or 5 classes in a week. And we should also time the completion of the syllabus properly. When we look at the syllabus at the end of every chapter, the number of hours will be mentioned. This chapter must be completed in 12 hours. This must be completed in 10 hours or so. In case we have to complete the syllabus online in the next semester, 2020-21, we have to do a lot of time management. The entire syllabus has to be completed within the available time. So in terms of 1 hour or in terms of one session, how much of syllabus can be completed, how many sessions or how many classes can be taken, and all the things will have to be looked into. Most of the colleges are also planning. Whenever the colleges reopen, they will prepare a timetable, and the entire timetable will be done online. So just like going to class at the beginning of an hour and completing the class, we will have to do this online. The entire timetable will be fitted in such a manner that exactly at the beginning of every hour, the login happens and the students will get the lessons online. So let's be prepared there. So time management is a very, very good skill we have to understand. Time management in terms of completion of one session and time management in terms of completion of the entire syllabus with revision and all these things. We can never make a virtual class as effective as a real class, which is a fact all of us have to understand. Nothing can be done about it. But we can take a virtual class as near as possible to a real class. Now there are certain techniques. I am told if the teacher uses a desktop instead of a laptop, I am told the effect is a little better. And if we can restrict the student strength to 50, what happens is it's a little better. And if we do this on the gallery mode, we can also view the students. And if the students are made to understand that we are also watching them, there is a certain amount of seriousness. In fact, we can call students if we find some students not paying attention, just like a real classroom, control can be had. And when we are doing online, whether it's a problem solving subject or a theory subject, the problems and theory can be sent to them directly. Let us not start dictating anything online. We can send the problems, let the students go through the problems and keep themselves understood very well. Same is the case with theory also. If they keep these things ready, we can use the online time exactly for lecturing and doubts clarification. Let's not spend the online time for anything else. And finally, there are certain professional agencies who will monitor everything, that is linking the entire timetable online and conducting the entire class structure online. This becomes very important in big colleges where we have BCom, PSC, and we have BA and a few post-graduation courses and pre-university classes and everything. All of these can be put together, and these professional agencies will fit in everything in a very, very precise manner. Such services also can be used. Friends, before I conclude, I would like to share a small video with you. Video.
Tips to look presentable in video call.
Video there ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅವರಿಂದ ಟೈಮ್ ಸರ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಆಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
Tips to look presentable in video call. Number 1. Stay in the center of the screen. Your face shouldn't be too high or too low. Number 2. Camera should be at face level and should maintain a distance of 30-inch or 1 arm distance. Number 3. Light should be in front of you, not behind you. Tips to look presentable in video call. Number 1. Stay in the center of the screen. Your face shouldn't be too high or too low. Presentable in video. Tips to look presentable in video call. Number 1. Stay in the center of the screen. Your face shouldn't be too high or too low. Number 2. Camera should be at face level and should maintain a distance of 30-inch or 1 arm distance. Number 3. Light should be in front of you, not behind you. Number 4. While using a phone for video call.
Sir, it's not visible. Excuse me.
ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು
In a minute.
Sir, ಮೈಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ನನಗೆ ವಿಡಿಯೋದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದಾಗ್ತಿಲ್ಲ.
Yeah, in the meantime, I request the participants to kindly put your questions in the chat box. After the video is played, the questions will be answered. So anybody who have questions? Kindly put in your chat box.
Tips to look presentable in video call. Number 1. Stay in the center of the screen. Your face shouldn't be too high or too low. Number 2. Camera should be at face level and should maintain a distance of 30-inch or 1-arm distance. Number 3. Light should be in front of you, not behind you. Number 4. While using a phone for video call, make sure it's in the mode. Number 5. The background should be preferably plain or minimalistic. If possible, use a virtual background with your company logo. Number 6. Try to make sure nobody keeps moving around behind you while you are in the meeting. Number 7. Keep the camera on. It's considered to keep the camera off. Number 8. Mic on. Anyone else? Number 9. Rename to make sure your company. Number 10. Try being still. Do not fidget. Number 11. Eating is not considered decent. However, sipping a cup of coffee or tea is fine. Number 12. When you have to speak, speak in normal tone. Do not shout. Number 13. Always be on time, or 5 minutes early for meeting. Number 14. Dress smart and appropriately. You might have to stand. Number 15. When you are done, let the team know by telling, I am done or thank you. Number 16. Stick to the time limit. Do not exceed it. Number 17. Always have a pen and paper handy to make notes of important points in meeting. Number 18. Make sure your battery power, mic, speakers, internet connection, and camera are all up and running. Number 19. Be attentive, focused, and avoid multitasking. Number 20. If you have to speak, prepare and practice your presentation or script. Most importantly, be yourself and smile.
Let's go back to the screen. Hello, all of you. Hello.
Hello, sir. So we have some questions in the chat box. I'll read it out for you.
Sure.
Yeah. Sir, Ashwita has asked that, can you mention any software for doing accounts class online?
I don't think there is any software for accountancy online class. The best is what we can do is, in a subject like accountancy, we can actually put a small whiteboard or a blackboard, focus the camera and teach like we teach in a classroom. I would say that is the best instead of using a software, because the exams are not going to be based on the software, it's going to be an actual working. What I would suggest is use a small board. There are so many small boards available. We can even focus our own cell phones in a very proper way so that we are seen and the board is also seen. I would prefer that, madam.
Okay, sir. Sir, maybe with this answer, 3 or more questions have been answered. And we have another one question here. Students are not interested in online classes. How to motivate them?
That's a very challenging question, but something has to be done.
Yes.
What can be done is we can keep the sessions a little short, and when we prepare, in case we are preparing PPTs, we can be a little creative, and we can use some pictures which are very, very relevant, and if possible, we can use a little cartoons also along with the PPTs. If we make a mixture of all these things, and we can take breaks, and we can ask the students to come out with some of their suggestions also, this is a way we can make it interesting.
Okay.
And we can keep the strength also small, even if there is a class of 100, if we can restrict it to 50 and take 2 sessions,
Okay.
that should be a little better.
Okay, sir. There is a question that if you have tried any online teaching tool which was well received by students for practical subjects.
Practical subjects, personally, what I did is, I explained the theoretical concepts very, very clearly and in a very easily manner using PPTs. For example, say the chapter on royalty. What is meant by royalty? Who are the parties and things like that. These I did it with the help of PPTs, of course, voice recorded. I send the PPTs, then I send the problems to them. Maybe a list of say some 10 or 15 problems, starting with the easiest one. Then with every problem we would increase the difficulty, and the problem would be shown to them. The solution would be shown to them on the screen. This is how it worked. Starting with the easiest one.
Sir, practical subjects like accounting, statistics are very difficult in online. Assistance to make it easier.
Make it very, very simple, in the sense take very, very small concepts initially. Probably we can do this, we can write on the board, capture it in a camera and send it to the students. That's how we can almost create the effect of a classroom itself.
Okay. Sir, how to prioritize easy sums and difficult sums in online classes for accounting subjects?
Generally, most of the subjects begin with very easy illustrations. And if you, actually these illustrations and problems are graded. If you take any good textbook, the first illustration in any chapter seems so simple. But if you go to the second, third, fourth, we find in every problem there is addition of 1 or 2 adjustments. And an ideal textbook is that which will take you above the syllabus also. So if you go to the last solved illustration or the exercise also, they are generally drawn from some CA question paper or ICAA. So in that way you can go through all the problems, and there are certain textbooks where there is an index also. In the sense, before beginning the illustrations there is an index. First problem, what is the specialty? Second problem, with minimum rent in case of royalty. Third problem, the problem might say calculation of what shall I say, purchase consideration in a different manner. The specialty of each problem is also indexed.
Okay.
Otherwise also, if you read the problem from 1 till the last, they are generally graded. The level of difficulty increases. So you can choose the first problem, 5th problem, 7th problem, and in that manner. It's always better we start with a very, very simple problem, even if it appears to be very, very childish.
Sir, we have one question.
Yes,
sir, do you mean to say that offline class is more effective than online for practical subject? Due to current situation, we have to acquaint to new change for practical subjects.
Definitely, ma'am. Anything for that matter. The human factor cannot be avoided. In fact, I was reading one article wherein it says, if online classes were so good, why is Harvard University still making students sit in the classes? And I was speaking to one professor from Indian Institute of Management. He also says, how much ever effectively you do, online classes cannot replace offline classes. That is a fact. But at the same time, given the situation, if we don't even do online classes, we'll be losing 6 months or maybe more than that, and so we don't know. So this is definitely a compromise we are making, but we can come almost nearest to the effect of an offline class.
Okay. Sir, I would like to share something which we trialed during this pandemic for practical classes, with your permission.
Definitely, ma'am. Please go ahead.
When we started online classes, for theory classes, we didn't have any problem because we used to share some PPTs and go ahead with the live sessions. But in case of practical classes, actually we found very difficult because students were not able to understand what we do in online classes like this. So we had two softwares which we used. One is a software which we can use on our laptop. Okay, it is TechSmith Sagnet. Okay, what happens when you have this is it will easily capture your screen. You can also make yourself available with your camera, and your screen will be moving, your PPT will be moving. You can record it and send it to the students. So it is like a pre-recorded one. And when we tried this, actually we got very good response from students. And what we did is we shortened time. Like only one problem was done in one video, and then we took a feedback from students. So this was one good thing which we experimented, sir, actually. And another one app which we can use in our mobile phones itself, a very easy app which everybody can use. We have something called as X Recorder. We have lot of apps which will enable us to record our mobile screen. So X Recorder is one best app because we can even enable our camera, wherein we can be seen and we can teach students with the PPT which we have made or any PDF which we have made and go on explaining the things. Sir, you will not believe we have done final accounts of companies also using this software, and students have understood the concept. Because many of them were asking questions regarding those, so I thought I will share this. So this is one easy way of doing practical classes, I feel, sir.
Sure, ma'am. We will try this.
Yeah, sir. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? You can kindly put it in the chat box. Yeah. Okay. We have one question in our YouTube live. The major limitation is I am not able to monitor with how much interest the student is digesting the subject. So do you have still more tips to make students tuning? That's a difficult task, sir.
What can be done is we can do it in the gallery mode. And as we are teaching, if we keenly observe the students, I think that will help us to a certain extent. We can easily make out whether a student has understood or not, just by understanding the facial impression.
Okay. Sir, another one question.
Yes,
If you can give one example of solving trading and profit and loss account and balance sheet online, which is more effective.
Okay, if there is a final accounts problem, you mean to say of the joint stock company or just like that?
Yeah, sir. In any kind of thing, wherein it is just a question on profit and loss account and balance sheet. So maybe it is company.
Okay, we can only tell them, for example, if I am not using any app or any other software, I can write it at the board. I should be very, very slow. That is, I presume that the students know the basic fundamentals of a trading account and profit and loss account and everything. I can repeat that in a very short duration, and then I can show where exactly the gross profit has to be taken, where exactly the expenses are to be taken. As I write, I can read. I can replicate what I do in the class itself to a certain extent. But if I repeat the principles, it becomes a little easier. Since this is an expenditure, since this is an indirect expenditure, it comes on the left-hand side and things like that.
Okay, sir. If anybody of you have any questions, put in the chat box. We are taking up the questions from YouTube live channel also. So anybody have any questions, you can ask. Okay, we have one question here, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we solve the problem on the board and then explain, asking the students to work on simultaneously?
Yes, we can solve it on the board slowly. We can also tell the students to work it out by listening to us and by also saying what is there on the board.
Okay. Sir, actually, even in fact in Google Meet also, we can just, we have one kind of thing where we have to enable our camera in a narrow way, and we can clearly use our boards. We have tried this also for our practical classes. Then it will be like, yes, sir.
If I may take 2 minutes, what I generally do in my classes,
Yes,
in
sir.
any chapter, I explain the theory, the theory background in a very, very detailed manner. After that, the first problem only, I write certain crucial things on the board. Otherwise, I just make them, for example, a journal entry. If I take a first PUC situation, if there is a simple transaction like cash sales, I can tell them which are the two transactions, which are the two accounts involved, cash account and sales account. Cash account is a real account, debit what comes in. Sales account is an offshoot of goods account. So when goods go there to be credited. So students debit what comes in and credit what goes out. I think by explaining the fundamental principles also like this in any account related subject or so, we can minimize the use of the board. In fact,
Hello, sir. Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir. Please.
Sir, this is Dr. Syed Rafiq Ahmed from Chennai. Sir, as our age goes on increasing, our experience also increase, no doubt in this. But I am just asking this in connection with this trading P&L and balance sheet, sir. An experienced teacher can solve a problem simultaneously trading P&L and balance sheet. This is one approach.
Yes.
And some teachers, new teachers will solve only trading, only P&L account, only balance sheet.
Yes, sir.
So, this experience, how we can incorporate in the online classes, sir.
So
And also insolvency accounts, list A, B, C, similarly we have list H also there.
Yes.
But when I was a student, no, my experienced teacher taught in the blackboard like that. All the list he used to fill it up. So is it possible, sir, all these type of gimmicks possible in online classes?
It's my personal opinion. It is better we don't do it, sir. Sir, I'll take 1 minute. I had a student. Initially, when I started teaching in 1985 or so, I would dictate problems. The student was so sharp when I was dictating a problem on final accounts. For example, I say take down the trial balance. I say opening stock. This fellow would have kept the, what shall I say, trading account, profit and loss account and balance sheet ready. He will not write down the problem. He will directly take the opening stock as the first item on the trading account. I say sales. He will not write it in the form of a trial balance. He will take it on the credit side. So 2 minutes after the dictation, he will come out with the answer. Now that is because he had a high degree of sharpness. But when we are answering a general class, I don't think it is possible. Of course, what you say is very true, sir. As we progress in our age, we become more experienced and we also subconsciously stop looking at small difficulties. We take them for granted. But I think in an online class, it's better we don't do such experimentation. For this, we can have an offline class wherein we can try all those things. Online class is only to, what shall I say, tide over the situation. We don't have the time. So such methods may not be successful is what I felt. In fact, when we prepare this fund flow and cash flow statement, we go with the traditional method. Funds from operation and we prepare so many accounts and everything. I was discussing with one chartered accountant. He has a totally different method of preparing the fund flow statement. I showed him a problem. He does so many things, which I tell you very frankly, I didn't understand. And within 10 or 15 minutes, he comes out with the answer. He has his own method. We are used to teaching in the same method. So these experimentations will be a little difficult in online classes is what I feel.
Sir, one more question, sir, because
Yes,
I think you may be more experienced in accounting subjects.
No.
Good thing to see and hear. Sir, when we were the students, what I feel, sir, I recall all this. Why don't we implement that in the present generation along with this online? That's why I'm asking this. When we were doing banking accounts, sir, we will be very well knowing that trading, the balance, income and what is that called? P&L account we prepare, sir. At
Yes.
that time, there is a memory mnemonics the experienced teacher used to tell us. Did you remember that, sir? I saw Delhi recently, lovely, pleasant, developing speedily. Like I stands for interest, S stands for salaries, Delhi D stands for director's fees, like that. Do you have any kind of mnemonics in the financial accounting, cost accounting, management accounting, sir? If you have that, kindly share into our mail, sir, so that we can make this subject very easy to the students and very lively, enjoyable, and they will love the accounting subjects rather they will be struggling. This is what my intention, sir.
It will be easy
So
for
it's a
them.
teamwork. We can do it better for the students community, sir. Thank you so much.
Some people are very good at forming abbreviations when it comes to formats of balance sheets and everything. If I come across any such thing, I'll definitely share it. It will definitely make it easier for the students.
Exactly, sir. That's what I have in my mind for solving the difficult sums, I believe, sir. Small sums we can take it as a talent, but difficult sums we give that acronyms, no? Something like that. I think we can get the students into our hands.
Organization
We call it as in psychology, memory mnemonics, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. Some people are good at forming such abbreviations.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. I once again thank the college authorities also for giving me an excellent opportunity. Thanks one and all to you all people. May God bless you all, sir. Thank you. This is for this reward. I think college and we cannot give, sir. Only God can give you the. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Janardhan, sir, maybe we are done with the questions. You have answered almost all the questions, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. I request Sindhu Jadhav.
I'll just take 1 minute of yours, ma'am. Just give me 1
Yes,
minute.
sir. Yes, sir.
Friends, it's been I've been very fortunate to be with all of you now. In fact, sir gave such a good observation also. I firstly thank Professor Vidya, Principal, ICM, for arranging all this. Then I thank Mrs. Punita, Head of the Department of Commerce at ICM. Then my very good friend, Mr. Mr. Pramod. He has been in touch with me for the past so many days. At every stage, he has been asking, sir, is there anything else you want? Are you ready? Kindly share your profile and things like that. I sincerely thank Mr. Pramod also. Then we have Mr. Dilip from the Department of Computers, SICM. He has done an excellent job. In fact, there was a small hitch. That is in between when we shifted to the video, there was a small hitch. I welcome that because it's only when we come across such things we learn better. Had that not happened, I wouldn't know how to fix it. So such things are very, very good. In fact, it's always a learning process. And I also thank Mrs. Rekha from our own college. She is also here. She also helped me a lot. And finally, I thank all the attendees. If I have done some justice to all of you, and if there is any exchange of value, I'm really thankful. Finally, thanks to all of you.
Thank you, sir. Over to you, Sindhu ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. I Sindhu
Madam, can you please send the link, madam? That PPTs and the discussions into our mail. And we will be very much thankful, madam, because we are going to implement in our college. So it will be a continuous process, madam.
Yes, sir, with the permission of Janardhan, sir.
Definitely.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes. Janardhan, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please give your green signal, sir.
Definitely,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir.
Please
Yeah,
go
sir.
Please, sir. Thank you so much, sir. You are welcome to our college. Chennai also, all of you are welcome. And I have been guiding also. I will be using your name for the doctoral panel, which you give your CVs and all. It's my pleasure, sir. It's not an end. It will have a continuous journey in the near future in the academic research teaching, learning and all these things. Thank you so much once again to one and all present over there. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Department of Commerce, new call. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, Sindhu ma'am, over to you ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. I, Sandhu Jadhav, Assistant Professor, Department of Commerce and Management, on behalf of Seshadripuram Educational Trust and our college, Seshadripuram Institute of Commerce and Management, and all the participants express a heartfelt thanks to today's resource person, Dr. Janardhan TG, for his wonderful session. Thank you, sir. I express a great thanks to Professor Vidya Shivanava, Principal, Seshadripuram Institute of Commerce and Management, for her guidance and support in conducting this webinar. Thank you, ma'am. I thank Associate Professor Punita G, Head of the Department, for her constant support. A sincere thanks to all the participants for their time and interest. And a notable thanks to the team of webinar in playing a key role in the success of this seminar. I also thank all the teaching and non-teaching staff of SICM for their support. Thank you all. A small note to all the participants, link to feedback forms will be mailed to you individually. Kindly fill them on the same day when you receive it for the receival of certificates. Mails will be sent to you in slots for easy availability of certificates. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we will end the session, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Janardhan sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Yeah.